When I lived in Texas during 6th grade, I had transformed into this negative teenager. It was primarily due to the fact that I had matured enough to understand the reasons why my parents were no longer together. During this point in my life, I was learning to view everyone as being human, which opened my eyes to all of the mistakes that come with being human. I had a tendency to constantly compare myself to everyone that surrounded me. All my closest friends lived with both of their parents, and it made me boil inside to think that mine would never be together again. In order to relieve my stress in this situation, I resorted to self-harming. During class one day, I told my classmate Brandon what I had been doing. He seemed shocked, but I thought not enough to do anything about it. By 6th period, I was called into the counselor's office to find Brandon in tears. The counselor called my dad to explain the issue, and she requested that I visit a therapist named Yvonne Hand. I was apprehensive at first, but my dad insisted that I go, so I did. Yvonne did an amazing job at helping me be aware that I had more things to be thankful for than what I thought. During a time where I felt like no one understood me, I was understood. She may have been the one to turn my life around. Many of us, when faced with the hardships that emerge in life, don't seem to understand that when we find a habitual coping mechanism to get through the day, we become reliant on this thing. We begin to plan our daily routines around this bad habit, which means that every day we are immersing our minds in this complex that we need this habit to survive, that we need this habit to feel any sort of hope at all. We get to the point where we have lost the ability to be reliant on ourselves, and that causes us to drift further away from who we are. It is because of this that I hope to persuade you to seek help when your bad habits begin to get out of control. According to teenhelp.com, accessed on May 8, 2013, it's estimated that one in every 200 girls between 13 and 19 years old cut themselves regularly. And without treatment, many who begin cutting themselves as teens will continue this behavior well into their adult years. There are several serious problems related with self-harming, which is why it's important to understand what they are. Each and every case is different from the next, which means that there are several different causes for these destructive behaviors. Most people that fall into these disastrous ways of life feel like these acts are their only form of hope that exists to deal with their problems. But what they fail to realize is that there are numerous paths that we can journey through to help manage and even eradicate our lethal habits. Although we don't see self-harming take place, it happens more than you might think. This habit has developed into a form of surviving for some people. The act of self-harming covers a wide range of methods. According to the Timberland Knolls Treatment Center's website, accessed on May 8, 2013, forms of self-harming include cutting, burning, poisoning, pinching, headbanging, and biting. Many people get this misconception that self-harming is an abuse to only the surface, but internal abuse also is very common. Some young women and even men suffer from anorexia and bulimia nervosa. The Loma Linda University medical website, accessed on May 10, 2013, explains that anorexia is a disorder where a person has an aversion to food. This can cause serious nutrition deficiencies, which lead to health problems like low blood pressure and even a loss of menstruation for women. Bulimia is defined by food binges of significant overeating accompanied by a purging method, usually as vomiting or laxative abuse. This sort of self-harming can cause erosion of teeth enamel and even chronic dehydration. When consistent self-harming occurs over a period of years and even months, it's very possible that long-term issues will follow. According to the article Long-Term Effects of Self-Harming on thesite.org, accessed on May 8, 2013, many people have injured tendons, nerves, blood vessels, and muscles through self-harming, and only some of these damages can be repaired. The previously cited article mentions that if you cut a major nerve in your wrist, you can be left with a permanent weakness or numbness in your hand, or both. These actions become a lifelong issue that turn into a painful reminder. Although some of those wounds have time to heal, others do not. When these acts of self-harming are occurring routinely, we can come to find that our bodies can only handle so much mutilation before these once thought to be minuscule punctures and purges are taken too far. Death is a short-term effect of constant self-mutilation. It only takes one deep cut to bleed out enough for death to occur. A lot of the time, when we partake in these self-inflicted acts, we don't act with the intent to kill ourselves. But so much damage can be caused that the effects are irreversible. There are an endless number of reasons why people resort to self-harming. On March 27, 2013, the Western Daily Press in Bristol, United Kingdom state that clinical studies have shown that inflicting pain releases a short-term endorphins, which can mask feelings of depression and suicidal urges, in much the way as people take drugs. If you think about it, cutting is like a gateway to a new addiction. Some people that try it may want nothing to do with it afterwards. But for those who embrace this release of tension, they have found a release. With every cut and every rush, going deeper doesn't seem like it's enough. Just as a methamphetamine addict steps further away from reality with every puff, those who self-harm are creating their own way of feeling something, of feeling anything at all. According to the previously cited source, a number of things lead children to hurt themselves, including bullying, not getting along with their parents, anxiety about doing well in school, divorce, death, unwanted pregnancy, and abuse. With the constant challenges that come with being human, it can be incredibly difficult to trek further. These incidents have a lot to do with feeling separate from those who surround us. When we experience a divorce or abuse, we feel that there is no way any of our peers are experiencing the exact same pain as we are. Because of this, we perceive ourselves as being alone in this world of people who just don't understand. This is the way we think. This is how we become. We struggle by ourselves, and we cope on our own. A lot of the time, we perceive our position in people's lives as a burden when we think about even opening up. When our own life feels like a misfortune to ourselves, we can't even imagine how much of a burden it can be on others. When we feel the blade talk once, there seems to be no other one to console. When entering the gate of self-harming, we know in our minds that what we are doing isn't exactly a good thing. Sometimes a wave of guilt washes over our minds, but this choice we make isn't anyone else's but our own. If any other person had anything to do with our choice, self-harming wouldn't be any of them. That's why we tend to hide our habits at great lengths by wearing long sleeves, or brushing our teeth after meals, or avoiding dinner invitations. Some people aren't lucky enough to have a friend that is willing to give that extra push toward redemption. Lucky for me, I had Brandon. Because of his courage to tell a counselor what was going on, I was forced to seek help. A lot of the time, that's what it takes, a helpful push in the right direction. It's not something I wanted to do, nor did I think I needed it. But after opening up to Yvonne, I hadn't felt that liberated throughout my entire experience of self-harming until that time. She didn't make me feel bad for doing what I had done. She didn't ridicule me for my choices. She didn't make me feel like less of a human for being human. All she did was listen to the thoughts that were related to my actions. One-on-one therapy is only one way that a person can seek help. Peer counseling is another option that offers a place to feel like you're not alone. There are many meetings in every city called Al-Anon meetings, where those that are suffering with family members who are addicts all meet to share their stories. However, the title of this program doesn't define the power of the effectiveness it offers. A lot of the time, we feel that our experiences are completely unbearable. But when you hear the stories that these people share, you'll begin to wonder whether you're worrying about the right things in life. Although our experiences may have detrimental costs to our well-being, it's important to hear just how far someone else with similar or even worse experience has gone to be the person that they are deeply proud to be today. If these forms of help are not immediate enough to satisfy your need, there is a website called transformationstreatment.com that is solely dedicated to a pressure-free help through phone and email. This can be done anonymously and without judgment. There are many different ways that help is offered to you, and it's only a click or phone call away. If it wasn't for Brandon, I don't know what kind of person my experiences would have made me. But I'm thankful that I didn't have anything further than a one-on-one acceptance. If any of you have a friend that is suffering with any form of self-harm method, be courageous enough to give them that extra nudge needed to enter that path of recovery. And even if you're personally suffering with this pain, don't be afraid to seek help. Don't be afraid to seek the help needed to pull you out of this darkness. No human deserves to suffer alone. And the world acknowledges this with the many existing programs and organizations offered. I promise that you're not alone. Once you have realized this, your healing has already begun.
Very good.